Hi everybody, I'm Chef Nick, and today on Nick Ruma's Ethnic Food, we're taking requests and headed to Lithuania, where I will be making Kibinai. I think that's right. The assist, please.
Kibinai.
Thank you. These are going to be meat-stuffed little hand pies. Before we get into the weeds on actually making our Kibinai, I feel like I should explain what it is first. A Kibinai is a hand pie associated with the Karaite ethnic minority in Lithuania. They migrated up from the Crimea about 200 years ago. They're a Turkic Judaic group, but from what I've read, the Kibinai has become very popular in Lithuanian cuisine across the country, and not just in that ethnic minority group. So we're going to give it a shot, and today we're going to use elk, which I know is more associated with Estonian food, but finding lamb has been difficult. Let's start by making the dough for our Kibinai. It's very similar to like a short crust, but it has eggs added and, most intriguingly, sour cream. I'm very excited to see how this works out. So we're going to start with 500 grams of all-purpose flour, half a teaspoon of kosher salt, 2 sticks of whole unsalted butter, about 230 grams worth, give or take, a third of a cup of sour cream, and 3 whole eggs. Salt has been added to the flour. Going to give that a quick swirl. All right, I'm going to show you a little pro trick here. So instead of cutting cold butter into our flour, we are going to shred cold butter into our flour. You know, if the goal is to get small pea-sized pieces, well, why to go through all the extra effort? So we're just going to coat the outside so it doesn't melt too much in our hand. Just going to run that right through the box grater. And periodically pull it out, check to see how we're doing. But you'll see this butter is basically already coming out. Pea-sized, right size, right texture, saving us a ton of time and a lot of effort. All right, all the butter has been cut in. You'll see we've got this nice sandy pea-sized flakes in there with a lot less effort. Let's make a little well in the middle of our bowl. Add our 3 eggs and our 1/3 cup of sour cream. Now, I'm just going to knead this long enough to bring it together, just like we were making a pie dough. All right, and then once this is together and kneaded, I'm going to cover it, stick it in the fridge, and allow it to reset while we start working on our filling. There we go. Now it's time to make the filling. All right, so in my research, I ran across a dozen or more variations. No one agrees which meat is correct. No one agrees how it should be seasoned. They can't agree on whether it should be cooked and going into the crust crumbly, or whether it should be turned into a farce or like a sausage type consistency, and then baked in the shell as you go along. I like sausages, so I'm going to do a raw filling that I'm going to basically turn into a farce, a really thin, or not thin, but a really smooth meat paste. So to do that, I'm going to start with 1 onion, medium yellow onion. I'm going to throw that right in the food processor. 6 cloves of garlic, no more, never ever any more garlic. And then one of the most frequent ingredients I did see was marjoram used. Not an herb I use a ton of, but we'll mix that on in there. I know it always goes great with game, and I've decided to use elk today. And then on those recipes where you're using a lean meat like elk or lamb or chicken, a dollop of sour cream is often recommended. So tablespoon, maybe 2 goes in there. And let's turn this into a fine paste. All right. So our onions are pretty well... Oh, we got 1 chunk here. That one's pretty dry. All right. Our onions are pretty well minced in here along with the garlic. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to add dollops of meat kind of around the edge of the food processor so it has a chance to incorporate everything evenly. I'm glad I didn't have to scrape down the sides. That means we've got enough moisture in there. All right, little clumps of meat. Everybody get some. And you can see how lean this elk is. All right. Back on, and we'll be making our farce. All right. There we go. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm looking for. All right. You'll see we have a fine pink paste here. So either we're making Kibinai or we are making, well, we're halfway to Torgo's executive powder. Just going to transfer that back to the bowl so we can portion it up into our little pies in just a little bit here. Let's see how much we've got for our yield. All right, about 1.5 pounds. Meat filling is back in the fridge resetting, letting that fat kind of firm itself back up. I've got our Kibinai dough here that's enriched short crust. I'm going to weigh these out to about 50 grams a piece. And then I'm going to make them into little balls before I roll them out. If you want a round dough to end with, start with a round dough. So I'm going to roll these up and let them sit on the side here for just a minute. So that butter is still nice and firm. You can see as I'm kind of pushing these guys together, you can still see the little flakes of butter in there. Should give us a nice flaky crust. But as you saw, the dough is real dry. It's real crumbly. I think that's actually going to be a benefit as we cook this, as the fat melts out of the meat and gives us further enrichment and moisture on this crust. All right, let's get these rolled out. As I was rolling these, I could almost start to feel the butter melting into my hands. So we want to work quickly. What I'm going to do is we're going to, form them into a disc. I want to keep it round, 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 round. We're going to roll it between 2 sheets of wax paper. We're going to do this quickly. And then I've got a plate here. So once it's rolled out, it's going to go on this plate with another sheet of wax paper so it doesn't stick to its neighbors. And it's going to go in the fridge so we can get this all done before this butter starts melting and rendering out of the dough. There we go, still round-ish and about 1/8 inch thick. This is what we're looking for. Wax paper into the fridge. Okay, so this is one of the fattiest short doughs I've ever worked with. I'm actually really excited. I think the eggs are going to give us a lot of leavening agent because we don't have any baking soda, baking powder in there. But between the lamination of the fats and that egg, I'm really excited to see how these turn out. So I'm just going to be pulling one at a time out of the fridge. I'm going to take our elk filling mixture, this nice pate, basically. Get about 1 ounce, 1.5 ounces in there. I want to make sure we can still get this thing closed. So right dab in the middle, a little bowl full of cold water. Run that just around the outside. So you've got a little bit of moisture to help you get your seam filled. So come right up in the middle, pinch it together, pinch it together. All right, we got some excess on the edges. That's good. All right, so just gonna tuck those in a little bit, kind of like we're making a Cornish pasty. All right, now that we've got the seam here, we're just gonna use our fingers and make a little zigzag. Boop, boop, boop. All right, and it'll give us a nice little handle on top, a little Stegosaurus vibe as we start making these food. I'm going to set us off to the side on a lined baking sheet. I got a couple of practice ones in there before I started showing the camera. We're going to brush that with egg wash and then into a 400-degree oven. Here we go. Our Kibinai are just about ready for the oven. Looking at these bad boys. Definitely getting some real serious Jurassic Park vibes on these. Stegosaurus-looking hand pies. So I got an egg mix here. It's about it's 2 eggs and about a tablespoon or 2 of heavy cream. Whipped together should give us a nice golden brown color. Oven is set to 400 degrees. We're going to bake these for about 20 minutes or until the internal temperature is 160. Okay, they've been in the oven for about 24 minutes. They just weren't looking quite golden brown enough. So I'm going to open them up. I did give them a rotation through there to make sure they cooked evenly. There we go, look at that. GBD, golden brown and delicious. Let's go ahead and stick a probe in there. See how they are doing. 180 degrees, all right. So, looks like the filling cooked a little bit faster, or reached doneness a little bit faster than the pastry crust on the outside, but these look flaky. You can see all the oil pooling on there, so we got a lot of rendering from the bacon. So these just came out of the oven, and I'm going to show some restraint today before I stick these in my face hole. Okay, well, somebody's getting a burned tongue. Well, okay. We'll taste these in just a minute. Okay, these little guys have been out of the oven for a couple of minutes now. Look at that golden brown, delicious, wonderful crust all the way around. Still pretty hot though. I already cut one open. Let's see how it looks on the inside. So, oh yeah, you see that meat fully cooked. Nice little pebbling through there. Lets you know that that sausage, that pate, isn't going to be super duper dense. All right, the crust is definitely softer on the inside. I don't want to say it's soggy, but it's definitely soaked up some of the fat that's come out of the meat. Let's see. Hold on. Let's try the crust. All right, let's try a whole bite. Oh my god. Onions, garlic, that like slight gaminess from the elk, but the crust is so crunchy. I wish I would have put a little bit more salt in the meat, but oh man, it's gonna be so good with some horseradish sauce. All right, here's your Kibinai. I hope I got it right that time. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you on the next one.